Entertainment business. Well, Breath is Limited Motivational Speaking and Entertainment is our company, and we travel all over the country and inspire people. We advance ideas. We ignite passion. We give keynote speeches, and that's kind of our wheelhouse. You know, our specialty is the opening or closing, non-industry specific keynote at a conference or a big national deal. So Jared and I work together out of Fargo, North Dakota, and travel all over the country. Written a couple books, and our goal is to go out there and inspire people.
And now, Mark Lindquist, you are the main speaker, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and Jared would be the behind-the-scenes guy, or
he's kind of the guy holding all the strings, the puppet master, the guy with the brains. I'll fancy myself as the looks. And since this is on radio, you can't tell. So
I'm definitely the brains.
but you both sound good-looking.
No, Jared's the business manager and negotiates the contracts and deals with all of the analytical stuff.
Was this a business partnership out of the gate, or was this like where Mark, did you come to Jared, or Jared, did you come to Mark, or how Genesis? Let's start with that.
Yeah, actually we've known each other for 10, 12 years, so it kind of grows out of a friendship and an entrepreneurial spirit. And when I got out of the military, just like a lot of veterans, you're looking for a gig. You're trying to figure out, well, now Uncle Sam's not telling me what to do, what to wear, where to be, how to act. What can we do together? Because we kind of fancy ourselves as like Hewlett and Packard, if you know that story. They didn't start out making printers and computers. They started out doing whatever came to their mind in their garage. So it didn't matter what they were doing. It was more that the business partnership was the right thing. Mm-hmm. So we run a few different companies. And the motivational speaking for me is the main way that I impact the world.
How many? When was your first gig? When was your first motivational speaking gig, I guess?
We've been doing it professionally for about 2 years or so. Okay. But it's kind of funny. When you're young and in high school, I would give speeches at a youth conference. Sure. When the pastor was gone at our local church in Ortonville, Minnesota, I would fill in for him, and I was given the speeches and been interested in that. The occasional best man speech, But then, like I said, after the military, we started doing it professionally, started speaking all over the region, mm-hmm. and, the word of mouth spreads. And we did 82 keynotes last year. We're booked for over 75 this year already. We'll probably do about $125 or so. And for a speaker, that's moving.
That is moving.
A lot of guys try to do about 50 a year.
I was going to say, most people try to do one a week.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of a speaker's goal, right? One a week?
Right.
In a perfect world, I guess, as far as if you're putting your business plan together.
Sure. And if it could be that, if you could control it like that wouldn't that be great? But hey, when they call, you go. And, I'm a single guy, love traveling, love being on the road, no family of my own yet. So it's perfect. Mm-hmm. I can just, Jared can put me on the road and use and abuse me.
And what is it you speak on? You speak on motivation, but just kind of some bullet points from there.
Sure. There's really 3 topics. It's passion, leadership, and service. Passion being, with the book that we wrote, it's called Passion, 8 Steps to Find Yours. Like I had said, that book now is, the sales of that book outpace the sales of 95% of books in America. And so the word is spreading, So I'll go in and give that talk to, a $1 billion company. We just spoke for U.S. Foods. We speak for Sanford. We speak for Essentia, all the big ones here in the Midwest. Bobcat, another one of them. And we'll reignite the passion inside of somebody's workforce, So if I'm speaking at a sales meeting or a manager's meeting, I'm kind of, fancy myself as the perfect, get them all fired up at the beginning of the conference or send them out the door on fire,
I call them pep rallies.
Yeah.
Corporate pep rallies is what I call them, yeah.
Absolutely, and just give your people that jolt that you need to be able to carry on, third quarter goals or whatever it is. So that's kind of our wheelhouse. But at the same time, about a third of what we do is in front of youth, and student conferences and school assemblies because, it takes a certain personality or energy to be able to get those young folks to open up and listen to, So, and over the years, I've had some good fortune in the entertainment business, so especially the youth kind of latch on to my story. I was been seen on Lost in Hawaii Five-0 and the Universal Studios movie Battleship, performed in 22 countries and 44 states for about 1 million people all over the globe. So, bringing that as an entertainer first, I think that we're unique when it comes to speakers out there on the circuit because we were first I was first an entertainer. I first knew how to entertain a crowd and connect with an audience, and now we have great messages to bring behind that. And I think that is unique, because a lot of times when it comes to the speakers, like we were just talking about our friend, he achieves great things in another realm, and then figures out a way to get into the motivational speaking circuit. So the craft or art of connecting with an audience is probably something they have to learn.
Well, that's the one thing
You know what I'm saying?
I was noticing, is that you started out being a speaker entertainer, whereas a lot of people, they already have that gift, and then they go into, say, real estate or construction or media, whatever it might be. But then later in life, they become that speaker. They become that Tony Robbins, if you will. You know what I mean? That person with the life experience. But you have a little bit more life experience for somebody your age. You're of a different ethnicity, living in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Has that played into your speaking circuit?
And maybe. I was born in Seoul, South Korea, and then adopted and brought here. And, I tell that story all over the country, just because I do. I feel fortunate to be living here in the land of opportunity. And certainly...
We had one African-American in my high school.
Yeah, right.
In North Dakota, just so you know.
And so, in Hortonville, Minnesota, I was the minority population.
And he was on the homecoming court out of guilt. He was in school for 2 weeks, and he was on the homecoming court. I love it.
So I can identify with that.
Right.
Yeah. I've been in his shoes. That is unique. To be a motivational speaker based out of Fargo, North Dakota, but also to be an Asian American, to be adopted, to have had some luck and success in the Hollywood realm and then in the entertainment realm. I think around here, and especially in the northern tier, maybe, because when you think about entertainment, when you think about performers, I brought in the guy from New York City or L.A., and that's the big deal. I think sometimes you can stand out with what we're doing, where we're doing it.
It's hard to notice it when you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Right. We're just two guys trying to do our best in the world. Yeah.
People look at you. Do you know how many odds you've overcome? Well, no. I just wake up and go.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs and capitalists do. They don't understand their obstacles.
Right.
They just kind of keep going. And is that what you kind of speak on?
I think that. Wait, rephrase the question.
Yeah, I guess overcoming obstacles. Your life has it's been filled with it, so to me it seems like that's what you'd speak on.
Absolutely, because it hasn't been an easy road for me.
No.
Take this for example. I'm 33 years old, and in the last 15 years, I've had 15 jobs, right? And a lot of people would take a look at that life and say, man, that is the recipe or the beginnings for a failed life.
My uncle would say, you're a loser. You can't hold down a job.
My uncle said the same thing. But
he's a farmer.
I tell you what, though, for me, I knew that I wasn't going to settle for anything less than absolute passion in my life. I was going to love what I do. I saw people when I was growing up that didn't love what they did. And through all of that, I said, you know what, my life is going to stand for something different, right? And even if I have to go travel, in every state in the country and all over the world and try to figure this out for what makes me tick, I'm going to do it. And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to pick up and start fresh and start in a new industry that I don't know anything about. Because I just simply saw it as, if I'm going to find the thing I love, if I try a bunch of new things, I'm improving my odds, right? If I try 100 things and you try one, who's got better odds of finding the thing that they love, right? So, there were a lot of obstacles in that realm. It was while my peers were advancing in their careers and, they're married with kids and climbing the corporate ladder, I was starting out at a new gig at the bottom. But it was the process of me trying to figure out what was going to work for me, and I think when I speak to big corporations or organizations that are dealing with, all right, how do we get our people to the next level? I really think it's what's resonating with corporate America is that you have to allow your people these opportunities within your corporate culture to maybe grow from the position that they're in. If you hired the right person that you want as a part of your company, maybe the job they're doing for you is not necessarily the best job they could be doing for you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? So, creating this culture where there's opportunities for people to try, much like I tried, and I do hope that they stick with your company and continue on with longevity. But I think that sometimes we after HR signs them, and now they're an employee for your company, we forget that maybe there needs to be a little bit more attention to their development as a person.
Sure. I think there needs to be culture training in organizations. The skills are one thing, and a lot of the skills are so technical now that you don't need the internal training for that particular organization. I think you're going to start to see more culture training, meaning, okay, this is the way it works within this organization, this is the way it works within here, because everybody has their little idiosyncrasy, so to speak.
Sure.
Are you seeing that amongst yours, that there's some culture clashes, I guess, when new employees come in?
And especially in the millennial generation, you know,
Yes.
We're working with some pretty heavy hitters up here in the Midwest, trying to develop a millennial program that's kind of homegrown, based out of Fargo, in conjunction with the EDC and Jim Garden over there, the president, and we're excited about being able to really communicate that message of what the millennial needs and what they are assuming about what the workforce is and what it used to be 30, 40, 50 years ago, right, which is vastly different. So I definitely do see some culture classes, generationally specifically.
In the entrepreneur world, the culture clash that I'm seeing, and actually I'm getting quite a story done on this, is I call it the Facebook Procter & Gamble entrepreneur. So the old Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson,
Sure.
was you didn't really have a profit for 5 years.
Sure.
But then your company was it ain't going anywhere for a long time. It's that old school entrepreneur versus the new school, which is the Facebook, which is, I don't even have a product yet and I'm already a millionaire. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we sold the sizzle, we got the IPO, and so just what do you guys make about that? The old school versus, because the new school is the way it is right now.
Right.
I've read where that money is drying up. I haven't seen it, but I've read that.
Right.
Now, that means the old school guys are going to have to fund the new school guys again.
And my take on it is I think you're right on that let's take the young generation.
Yes.
I think that they have seen that Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos success, right? This like you said, no product, but I'm a billionaire. I'm on the Forbes 400.
It's kind of the authentic way to get rich quick.
Right.
Almost, I mean, it's
It's become legit, right?
Right, a legit way to do
Yeah.
it. Sorry. Yeah.
So I think that the young people especially are sold that. They see it on YouTube. They see it on MTV. They see that culture, right? However, let's say I'm sitting across the table from a young artist, actor, musician, somebody that wants to get into entertainment. And now they're thinking that the way to succeed in the music business is get on The Voice or American Idol or America's Got Talent, which is fine. Hey, I just tried out for The Voice in Chicago 3 weeks ago. I'll throw my hat in that ring too. However, I think this viewpoint of success and how to succeed has become a little skewed, and I'm a little scared about it. Because when those 20,000 people on Navy Pier showed up in Chicago to audition for The Voice 3 weeks ago, I was one of them. Every one of those 20,000 people, or many of them, legitimately thought, if I don't make it on The Voice, well, then I'm sunk. This is my shot.
I'm no good.
Are you kidding me?
Right, that's what they're thinking, though.
Right.
I'm not a good musician because Christina Aguilera's lackeys didn't accept me.
Right, and because of
On that day.
that skewed picture of what it takes to succeed in any endeavor, especially the entertainment business, I think people they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Because Harrison Ford said, I wasn't the most talented actor. I wasn't the most the best person in Hollywood when it came to the role that I was being given. However, I was just the person who stayed. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that there's something to be said about that. Then maybe we're giving a little bit of credit to the old Johnson & Johnson Procter & Gamble model that, hey, really success in most of it is just showing up and not giving up. Mm-hmm. Right? And so once you've found that, if you want to be an actor, if you want to be an entertainer, if you want to be successful in any endeavor, I don't think that you should hang your hat on this idea that you're going to get rich quick and be famous overnight. I think I'm 33 years old, and just last year, some of the largest crowds in the country started to ask me to sing for them, right? I had been singing for small crowds of 18, 14, 27 blue-haired ladies at the back of a church, right, for 15 years plus, before I first got my break in front of a 50,000 person crowd, mm-hmm. right? And I was 30 years old before I was on Lost in Hawaii Five-0 and Battleship and was a credited actor. Spent my time at the back of the line for a long time.
And were you an extra? Did you have a role? Did you have a speaking role?
Right. So, just like we all start out. You start out as an extra. You start out at the bottom.
I've been in a movie as an extra.
Yeah.
I need one more so I can get the SAG card.
Yeah.
So I can get the health insurance.
I know your road, brother. I know your plight. And so that's what a lot of people do is they try to collect the vouchers over and over and over again. And I was fortunate after spending my time at the back of that line through Lost, through Hawaii Five-0, and getting some decent speaking roles there every once in a while. Most of my scenes would hit the cutting room floor.
Sure.
So I'd tell my friends to watch, but I was out there for 8 days filming and.
But you were part of it. You got to experience it.
Production.
And from your side of it, being an extra, being a minor cast role, it's not about being the star. It's about going through the logistics, the process, understanding the business more than anything. At least that's how I would see it from your perspective.
Absolutely. Making contacts in that realm. Even just the experience of being on a Hollywood set. That is just incredible. And then as the career progressed, had the good fortune to land a role in Battleship. And, once again, one of those principles, it's like who you know.
Yep.
And because I knew the casting director that was the same person at Hawaii Five-0 and Lost, then they gave me a role on Battleship, got to have a speaking line, credited actor, acted with Liam Neeson and Rihanna and Brooklyn Decker and Alexander Skarsgård. And for me, what value for me to learn from those masters of the art. I wasn't a featured actor. I wasn't the principal. But I could glean from them because we're in the same frame. It was just incredible.
Well, I know when I went to your website, and your website is?
breathislimited.com, BREATH, islimited.com.
And when I went there, my eyes went right away to all the Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
I went, he's on Lost, Hawaii Five-0. Yeah. Didn't care about any of the real stuff. I was just focused on that, sex appeal.
But that's how we're trained,
That's how we're trained. That's my point. And so what that becomes to you is some great marketing. So, what I did was, I was a publisher for a number of years, and I had a radio show that I didn't get paid for 12 years.
Sure.
But I knew every day that my voice was over the airways. I should be paying them.
Right. That's how we feel, And I think that's the interesting thing is that as we've worked with clients across the country, when you can put that on the front of your event program, Mark J. Lindquist from Lost Hawaii Five-0 Battleship, world touring entertainer, that sizzle, I think people get excited about that. Because we've all been to these conferences where there was a keynote speaker that was just kind of like a snooze fest. Let's be honest. Right?
I was trying to tell a guy that. I said, now, if it's between the minority growing up in the Midwest from the Air Force that's been on Lost versus the white bread, cornbread Omaha speaker, who do you think they're going to pick? The guy that can excite the crowd, or the guy they all can relate to?
You're my new publicist. Let's sign right now.
I was laughing so hard because it's true, though. And sometimes you need that. You need that break in life to jar your own self.
Right.
You got to say, I need to get out of my own rut. And analysis paralysis. You ever hear that term?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Advice for someone to get over that, because outside of rocking in a fetal position in the corner or sitting on your hands, a lot of people don't know what to do when they got so much on their plate.
Sure.
They just get paralyzed. How do you help someone over that?
Really, I just think it comes down to a very simple example. It may be too simple, but you just have to swing the bat. You have to have the guts to go out there and try something new. When I'm speaking to audiences, young and old, it doesn't matter if they're middle school or a bunch of church ladies with gray hair. I always ask everybody to create a list of 10 things that they like, because we go through the process of kind of some self-reflection. Where are you at in life, and what are the things that you stand for on this earth, right? And so it doesn't matter if they're young or old. I ask them to list 10 things they like. And then, boom, we're off and running. I play some music, and they try to list those things. And inevitably, in every audience I'm in front of, a full third to a half of the audience can't get to 10. They can't list 10 things that they like. I think that says a lot about,
That's sad.
How we really don't know ourselves.
Right.
And people are so frustrated. You see it in their eyes as their pen gets stuck on number 7, and they're like, oh, man, I honestly don't know what I like. Because and then I ask the question, if we don't know what we like, then it's no wonder that we don't know what we love, that we don't know what we're passionate about, and that's what the statistics say, and that's why we wrote our book, Passion 8 Steps to Find Yours, is 11 to 20% of the population has passion for the thing that they do, right? And so, it's this process of I don't know what I like, so then I say, well, then you got to go try a bunch of stuff. You got to try more things, be it at work, you got to try more ways of doing the thing you're doing, build a better widget, whatever it is. In your personal life, you got to try more. When was the last time you examined your bucket list, and said, these are the things that I've got to do before I kick the bucket. And many times people raise their hand and they say, you know what, Mark, you're right. I haven't tried a new thing lately. I haven't put myself out there and swung the bat lately. Mm-hmm. I get in this, what I call the velocity of life, which is you go to school, you get a good education, you get a good job, you got a mortgage, you got 2.5 kids, you got a wife or a husband, that's fine. You got a white picket fence. That life is great. However, when you wake up one day, in the audiences that I speak to, they say, you know what? I don't know myself. I don't know what I want in this world. I found myself in this position in life kind of by default. And so I'm trying to get people to examine what are the true things that at their core, what do they want, And sometimes we lead them down the path of being an entrepreneur. Sometimes we lead them down the path of asking their boss if they can transfer to another department. Sometimes we ask them, maybe it's an entire career change, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a 180, right? But really, the exciting thing about what we're doing for people all over the country is we're helping them find the things that they love, which it seems like a basic principle that we shouldn't have forgotten, but most of us have.
That's easy to know. I mean, when the bills start coming,
right,
you start forgetting about a lot of things you love.
It becomes part of, how do I get a paycheck?
Yeah.
What is my job, right? Yeah. But we, Jared and I, have found a way to communicate a message to people inside of corporate America or at a personal development seminar to say, what are the things you love? What are you going to do to get off of your rear end and make that happen? Because I always say, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? When I was young, growing up in Ortonville, Minnesota, population 2,000, I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the grandfather sitting on the front porch in a rocking chair. I wanted to look back at life, and I never wanted to have to say, I wish I would have. I always wanted to look back at those years and tell tales of adventure about the times that I'm glad I did. That's the guy I wanted to be.
You know what I always found was I've yet to have a regret. Okay? I've yet to have a regret. When I look back at the things that I should regret, I look at it as, well, I'm glad I took that chance.
Right.
I'm glad I took that chance. It didn't work out, but that's okay because the next time I understood not to do that, and there when I was faced with something similar, because of that regret, I was educated enough to make the right choice going forward.
Right.
So regrets bring up history, and history slows you down. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I mean, you should learn from history, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you keep focusing on it, the world's going to leave you.
And that's what Tony Robbins says. You are not your biography. You are not your history, right? And I think that's brilliant advice, is because those regrets, those things that you say, well, shoot, I would do it better next time.
So do it.
I would rather have 120 of those experiences to be able to make my 121st decision better than be the guy who never swung the bat, right?
And there's this fear of failure everywhere you look. Everyone's afraid to make a mistake, so they don't jump into something because they don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah, I think failing's fun.
Yeah,
honestly,
right.
I get a kick out of failing because if you let me rephrase that. I like when things don't necessarily go the way they should because then you got to fix it, and that's the fun part.
Right.
That's the fun part, is turning a failure into a success. That's the fun part.
And that's where you learn the most.
That is exactly right. And what else are we doing otherwise?
Right.
We're just drinking coffee and...
And I think that's how successful people are wired. They're wired to take their setbacks or their failures and say, all right, because I, as a motivational speaker, I want to be the top of my industry. As an author, I want to be at the top of my industry. As an entertainer, I want to be at the top of my industry. The only way to get there is to mess it up a few times, right? The only way to get there is to walk on stage with the microphone off a few times. I'm not gonna forget that lesson again, right? The only way to get there is to not, put fresh batteries in your clicker, or it's these things that where you have to have those experiences, because I can tell you about my failures, right? And you might pick it up and you might incorporate it into your life. But if you walk out on stage in front of 3,000 people and forget the words to the national anthem, right? You won't do that again. Give Christina Aguilera another shot at the anthem. She won't forget those words. No.
Or she won't do the anthem.
Right?
One of the two. Either you don't forget the words or you just don't do the anthem.
But
either way, you learn.
When you fall on your face in front of them all, that's when you learn.
That's the good stuff, though.
Yeah,
that is really the good stuff.
Those are the best stories I've got. Right?
Yeah, it's when you, when you get your humbleness taken before you, like that, whether it's forgetting the words or, like in some people's case, let's say you end up in the paper with a not very good headline. You learn from there too, because you got it. It's just like you're exposed.
Time to turn that thing around.
That's exactly right. So even at that point, which might seem like a bad instance in life, whether you forget your words or a traffic violation, whatever it might be, you can easily turn that into even better.
Right.
Because people love people who learn from their mistakes.
Right.
They just do. Right. Everybody wants to help an alcoholic. Everybody wants to help a guy get over their demons, right?
Right.
And so if you're honest about it, it seems like it would be something that would work. Does that work in the corporate world? Are people able to be honest in the corporate world like these things?
About their failures?
Yeah. Because a lot of times that leads to being fired.
I hope. I mean, we're talking in a perfect world. I hope that people are able to walk into their boss's or manager's office and say, "Here's where I really messed up."
Right.
I understand.
That takes a good mentor, leader.
Right. We maybe don't live in that world in all companies, in all sectors of our society. So I do. I speak to a lot of managers. I speak to a lot of managers meetings that get together for a regional gathering and so on and so forth. And those are the types of things that we're trying to communicate to them. That failure is a part of the process of growing forward, right? It's.
So the acceptance of failure is almost universal. The person needs it, and the other people need to accept other people's failures too, with stride, and not point fingers and say you ruined my life.
And with some of the biggest companies that we've been speaking for, and the ones with a B behind their revenue, billions, that's what they're learning. Is it's time to allow our people to fail, because we realize even though we're a behemoth of an organization, $1 billion large, we have to create a culture where people are comfortable walking into their boss's office and saying, "You know what? I really messed this one up." But see, like John Maxwell says, experience isn't the best teacher. Evaluated experience is the best teacher, right? So, when you can create a culture where you feel as though everybody is on the same team, rowing in the same direction, and I can expose myself in front of my peers in a conference room or a team meeting and say, "You know what? This is one where we lost. Maybe we went backwards a few steps." But when it comes to any ingenuity or innovation in life, how many times you got to give it a shot? Until Thomas Edison finally figured out how to make the cotton thread filament incandescent light bulb, right? How many times did he try? Thousands.
What's this quote? I didn't fail 999 times. I was very successful one time, or something like that. He doesn't focus on the failures. He focuses on that one time. And like many entrepreneurs, I sent out 1,000 angel fund requests. I got 999 rejections, but I got one okay, and that one okay allowed my business to thrive. That's kind of the way to look at it. Where I don't know. Anyway, so
absolutely.
Okay, so final thoughts here, guys. What do you think here? You want people to remember about your business and the message you're trying to leave behind?
When it comes to the conference or convention that you're planning, there's two opportunities for people to remember your conference as the best one they've ever been to. Usually it's the opening one where they kind of set the tone for the gathering, be it a 2 or 3 or 4 day gathering, or maybe it's the last thing they hear before they head out the door, right? Because you're going to be able to give the industry knowledge that you need your people to know, and the industry training and the kind of the round table within your company. I can come in and give you the best hour of your conference, right? That makes them feel good and energized about what you were talking about. So that's what we're excited to give. I can do half-day trainings. I can do full-day trainings. I can do week-long things. Yeah, but I love going in there for an hour at a time, pumping your people up. A world-touring entertainer who can, I think, do it like nobody else. And we're changing lives. Men and women come up to us afterwards with tears in their eyes. Sometimes they call people they haven't called for years, So they repair relationships. They come up to me and say, you know what, I made this decision because of what you said. Managers will come up to me and say, you know what, we're changing this about our culture because of the ideas that you implanted inside of our people, right? And I was only with you for an hour, right? But give me that chance, and we'll help you change the world.
One last plug, you're singing the national anthem at the Fargo Marathon this year.
Singing at the Fargo Marathon.
Just a little plug for your singing side of your life.
Right, so I'm a well-known national anthem singer. I sing all over the country. I've sang for the College World Series, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Minnesota Twins, the home opener of the Minnesota Vikings. Coming up this year, we hope to sing for some more NFL teams around the country as they've contacted me. And also be singing at the Fargo Marathon for about 30,000 people in the Fargo Dome. Saturday at about 7:20 a.m. We just booked that gig, and it's one of my favorite things to do is honor the country with the national anthem. I was a military veteran, served in Afghanistan, and sang for the military ceremonies, retirements, and promotions and such all over the world. And now it's my gift that I give to the world. As an entertainer, it's one of my favorite things to do.
And it is, for those people listening, the national anthem is one of the hardest songs, technically, to sing out there today. Is that a fair statement?
It's a very fair statement. A lot of people don't sing it.
Right.
In fact, when I was booked for the gigs with the Minnesota Vikings for the home opener, we even heard that Eric Church said no. Right? And he just sold out a show at the Alaris or the Ralph a couple days ago.
I don't think people understand. There are professional musicians that do turn it down because it is so difficult.
The range is just atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, the song that it was adapted to, it was an old British song, has a range that's just in the stratosphere, right? I'm fortunate. I'm a tenor and got a good range and able to do that. But then the other thing is, like we talked about, the words. If you forget the words and you're a big celebrity, that's bad press, right?
What's the other
that's
side
bad
of it?
press.
The words, are people forget the words. So
Right.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Hey, appreciate you now.
That.